So before we actually get into today's video, I want to talk to you guys about jerseyfifa.com, because as you can see, they have hooked me up with a load of fresh shirts for this year's World Cup. I've got the England home kit, the England away kit, and also a nice little retro shirt. And you can do exactly the same if you head to jerseyfifa.com using the link in the description down below. They also do the same for club football as well. The latest home shirts, away shirts, but also some really nice retro kits. If you are interested, head to the link in the description down below and use code jerseyfifa for a discount when you order. Now into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we are talking about Arsenal's victory in the North London derby, putting them 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League table, thanks to what was, in my opinion, a tactical masterclass from Mikel Arteta. Especially in possession, they were decent off the ball as well, but in possession, Arsenal completely outclassed this Spurs team with some brilliant tactics and some key performances from certain players. So that's exactly what we are going to be talking about today. So let's just get straight into it and talk about Arsenal in possession. Now, when Arsenal had the ball, Spurs didn't really have much interest in putting them under pressure, and when they did, it was really kind of half effort. They were never really committing to a press. It was very passive, but most of the time they sat off into a shape which looked very much like a 5-4-1 essentially, with Kulusevski and Heung-min Son both dropping deep, and Harry Kane being left pretty much alone to deal with this. As a result, Arsenal were able to progress the ball very easily, with Saliba, Gabriel and Thomas Partey of course outnumbering Harry Kane very, very comfortably, allowing them to move the ball forward, which allowed Arsenal right from the start of the game to take control. And when Arsenal take control, we know what they like to do. They move the wingers very wide in Saka and Martinelli, Xhaka and Odegaard move further forward, and like I said, this trio here, Saliba, Partey and Gabriel, are left to move the ball forward. Now, in my opinion, what Spurs should have done from here was put Kane goal side of Partey and said, okay, we're going to sit off, let you have the ball, but we're going to get all our men behind the ball and then maybe try and counter-attack. But for some reason, Spurs didn't do that, and they left Harry Kane slightly further forward, which basically meant that they were playing one man down out of possession, because Partey now had all the time in the world to get the ball here, and we know how good Thomas Partey is. He's one of the best holding midfielders in the league, especially on the ball. In terms of cycling possession and moving the ball from side to side for his team, Thomas Partey is one of the best players in the world at doing this. So for me, it was a really strange decision from Conte just to let Arsenal have one of their key players have the ball and basically do what he wants, but that is what they've done. And from here, Arsenal were of course able to take control using their usual shape, which involves Zinchenko moving inside, Thomas Partey shifting across a bit, Ben White tucking in, and Arsenal now building possession in a 3-2-4-1 shape or a 3-2-5. And as we're going to see in this video, this allowed Arsenal to really take control, dominate and completely destroy the Spurs team, especially in the first half. So the first obvious advantage that we can see for Spurs when using this formation is the overload that they have in the centre of the pitch, especially early on in the game when Son and Kulusevski were occasionally caught a little bit high and also a little bit wide. We can see that Arsenal are going to completely outnumber this Spurs midfield too. And again, from Conte's point of view, I don't know why he went for the midfield 2 in this game. If he wants to stick with his back 3, a 3-5-2 would have been a better shape because it would have allowed them an extra midfielder. But that wasn't the case, and having this midfield 2 meant that they got completely outnumbered, with Partey, Zinchenko, Xhaka and Odegaard completely outnumbering these two, but also Nketiah sometimes dropping deep as well. Now, there were times that Eric Dyer would try and follow him. Nketiah was too good for him. And Nketiah is a player that I have questioned in the past, but over the last 9 months or so, I'd say, when I've been watching him, he is really developing into an all-round centre forward, and at the moment, Arsenal aren't missing Gabriel Jesus because Nketiah is doing such a good job. Now, in my opinion, he should have scored 2 goals in this game, but his finishing wasn't quite up to scratch, so that's a bit of a disappointment. But his all-round game was absolutely brilliant, and when Eric Dyer was trying to get out to him, Nketiah was just too good for him. He just couldn't deal with his technical ability, and again, that meant that Arsenal had superiority in this middle area. It really was far too easy, with Odegaard pushing up onto Longley at times as well, Xhaka on Romero. Spurs just struggled with getting pulled about the pitch constantly. They couldn't get close to them. And that was the story of the first 20 minutes. Conte did react, as you would expect, and he moved Kulusevski and Son more narrow and also deeper. This was now very much a 5-4-1. And the aim here was to stop this overload in the middle of the pitch. Now, this change from Conte isn't necessarily a bad one, because we can see that they now have the extra numbers in the middle here, so it should make these overloads more difficult. However, the problem was that the Spurs midfield 4 was so flat. It was perfectly flat. They were all playing on the same plane, on the same line, which caused a problem, because the Arsenal players were much more staggered. So yes, let's say Nketiah is higher in this example. Yes, it is now 4 versus 4. Partey, Zinchenko, Odegaard and Xhaka against Kulusevski, Sarr, Højbjerg and Son. However, look how staggered the Arsenal structure is compared to the Spurs structure. And what this meant was that Arsenal could drag players out of position. Sarr in particular was quite keen to try and put pressure on the ball, so when he was coming out to press someone like Zinchenko, it meant that a quick pass into Partey and then into Xhaka, which Arsenal are very capable of doing, let Arsenal then pull them about and again get through the middle of the pitch. And again, Arteta deserves credit for this. And so do Arsenal in general, because they have built a squad now which is very technically capable, which means that they are able to pull players into positions like this, drag the Spurs players onto them, and then they have that ability to play the ball around them. And I haven't seen a team this dominant through the centre of the pitch in a big game in quite a while. Typically in these sorts of games, we don't see teams trying to pull teams out through the middle, because teams just accept, okay, it's quite difficult to progress the ball down the middle of the pitch, we're going to hurt you out wide. Arsenal didn't do that. Arsenal went, okay, we are going to destroy you through the middle of the pitch, and that takes a lot of ability. Like I said, Thomas Partey at the base was largely responsible for kind of getting them moving in the right direction, and again, Arteta deserves a lot of credit for the squad that he has assembled. But it was too easy. It was far too easy, but it was also tactically brilliant from Arteta to make this overload in the middle of the pitch, and it completely destroyed Spurs. However, that wasn't the only threat that Arsenal carried. They also carried a lot of threat in wide areas. Now, Martinelli on the left-hand side struggled a little bit. I thought he looked okay, he looked bright, he's had a good season so far, but this wasn't his best game. On the right-hand side, Bukayo Saka is a wonderful, wonderful footballer. We'll see in a minute that defensively he's one of their most important players, but even on the ball, he's an absolute delight. His decision making for such a young player, his technical ability, his confidence is absurd. He really is a special young talent, and his ability in 1 versus 1 situations is too good, and this was the problem for Spurs. Saka 1 versus 1 against Sessegnon is a bit of a mismatch. I actually quite like Sessegnon as a player, but defensively against Saka, for me it's a mismatch, and Saka was beating him all day long, getting to the byline, putting crosses into the box, but also coming inside, working shots, but also linking the play with other players. Again, Spurs did try to react. We saw Longley coming across, but what Arsenal done really well here was then used Ben White. Now, we know Ben White is a player that likes to get forward at times, and his tactical awareness is really, really underappreciated, I think. He recognised the fact that Spurs were trying to make this a 2 versus 1, so he timed his run. Sometimes he would make an underlapping run to drag Longley, meaning that Saka again is in a 1 versus 1 situation, and sometimes he would overlap, either dragging Sessegnon or again dragging Longley, but more importantly, again leaving Saka 1 versus 1 in this situation. Now, with Son caught a little bit higher up the pitch, Spurs did try and kind of counter this by at times bringing Højbjerg over, because they knew that they couldn't leave Saka 1 versus 1, but this then meant that Odegaard was free in the midfield, and that's exactly what we saw for the second goal. Odegaard getting into this sort of area and then firing a long shot into the bottom corner. And like I said, Arsenal were just too good on the ball in possession. A really, really impressive performance. For me, a tactical masterclass from Arteta, but they were pretty good defensively as well. So quite often when Spurs have the ball and are trying to play out from the back, despite using a back three, they try and use more of a 2 centre-back system. And Eric Dyer almost moves into midfield on the edge of the box. We've got Christian Romero, who is behind me here, just to the left of Martinelli. Martinelli is pressing him. And then we've got Longley here. And Arsenal's pressing structure was really brave, and they essentially went man for man, literally all over the pitch. So we had Odegaard on the right hand side here, leaving his midfield position to come pressure Longley. Martinelli's going to go behind me and pressure Romero. Nketiah on Eric Dyer. Bukayo Saka on Sessegnon on this side here. Zinchenko on Doherty at the bottom. Xhaka on Sarr. Partey on Højbjerg. White on Son. Saliba on Harry Kane, and then Gabriel would follow Kulusevski. This is man for man all over the pitch, really, really brave from Arsenal, and it's one of those systems which is high risk, high reward, because it's very difficult for Spurs to play through this. Eric Dyer on the ball, and Nketiah is pressing him. Højbjerg on the ball, Partey is pressing him, and Spurs found this really difficult to deal with. However, like I said, it is high risk, high reward, because there were a couple of situations where Harry Kane was dropping incredibly deep, getting the ball. Saliba would follow him all the way, but this then opens up a big gap. And Spurs did have a couple of situations where they were able to counter-attack, particularly with Ryan Sessegnon overlapping down the left-hand side, but they just didn't really have the end product to make it count. They weren't quite as good on the counter as what they normally are, and as a result, they weren't really able to capitalise on it. However, moving forward, maybe a slight weakness in the Arsenal press is, like I said, it is high risk, high reward. High risk, there were situations where Spurs nearly got in on a counter-attack. However, high reward, there were a lot of situations where they won the ball in these areas. We saw Lloris 5 minutes in nearly give Arsenal a goal. I mean, he'd done the same 10 minutes later anyway, except that time he actually gave them the goal. Poor from Lloris, but I don't want to dwell on that. Really, really good from Arsenal, pressing high up the pitch. However, they also looked good in their more defensive structure as well. Like, when they were sitting off and Spurs had a bit more possession. So to me, Arteta seemed very aware of the fact that when Spurs attacked, they very much look to use a front five, with Kane, Kulusevski and Son of course the attacking three, but then also the wing-backs pushing forward as well. So what Arteta done was he matched this by asking Bukayo Saka to play as a right wing-back. And again, for me, this is why he deserves a lot of credit. Going forward, he was one of their most important players. That isolation ability on the right wing, the decision making on the ball, constantly a threat in the attack. But also defensively, he's willing to put in this work rate as well, this defensive shift to try and stop Sessegnon. And to me, that's really impressive, kind of as a mindset of a player. It's really good to see. Now, despite actually dropping into this area, Spurs did create a few opportunities, and kind of the big opportunity that they were creating was by getting Son to drop a little bit deeper, kind of outside Odegaard in this area. Of course, with Saka dropping so deep, there was this little free space on the side for Spurs. On the other side, it isn't there because Martinelli's playing higher, but it was there on this side, and Son was dropping deep, and what this would do was kind of draw Ben White out. This then leaves an open space here, because with Saliba man-marking Harry Kane, it leaves this room for Sessegnon to drive into. And when Spurs were either able to go long from someone like Longley or Højbjerg or Kane working the ball through to him, Spurs did create opportunities. And I've got to say, Aaron Ramsdale was absolutely brilliant, especially in the second half. He ultimately won Arsenal this game. For me, it was kind of the big difference was the quality of the goalkeepers. Like I said, Lloris had a bit of a nightmare. I don't want to dwell on it. I don't want to go in on it because he knows it weren't very good. He doesn't need to be told that, so we don't need to talk about that. Aaron Ramsdale, on the other hand, absolutely brilliant. Thomas Partey in the midfield, absolutely brilliant. Overall, tactically, Arsenal was spot on. Defensively, a couple of question marks here and there, but they were so good on the ball in their possession shape that it almost didn't really matter. And they were very, very deserving of their 2-0 win, in my opinion. They deserve to be top of the league, and at the moment, they're the best team in England. Let's see if they can keep it up. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Will Arsenal go on to win the Premier League? Were they deserving of this win? Were Arteta's tactics really good, or were Conte's really bad? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.